the Lance of Sol drifted silently through the alien skies, its sleek hull reflecting the cold light of distant stars. Inside, Captain Iris Caldwell stood at the bridge, her gaze focused on the view through the transparent dome. Ahead, the capital of the HFY Union loomed, a sprawling, metallic city that stretched across the planet's surface like an iron web. Their homeworld, a civilization millennia old, seemed both ancient and unfathomably advanced. The humans had been warned. This wasn't going to be a simple diplomatic meeting. It was a trial. "Captain, we're on approach," said Commander Elias, his voice steady but with a hint of unease. He was staring at the holoscreen, monitoring the HFY flagship that had been dispatched to escort them. It dwarfed the Lance by at least 5 times. "I see it," Iris said. Her voice was calm, but there was a fire behind her eyes. She had faced challenges before, but this one felt different. The HFY had made it clear in their communications, Earth was nothing more than an insignificant speck in the universe. A single planet among countless others. The HFY were known for their pride. Their civilization spanned a vast network of systems, and their fleet was one of the largest in the galaxy. To them, humanity's reliance on Earth, the one planet, was laughable. It was a point they would make again and again, she knew. The Lance docked with the HFY flagship. A soft hum resonated through the ship as the airlocks engaged, sealing them into the heart of enemy territory. Iris stepped forward, her boots clicking on the cold metal floor. Commander Elias, Lieutenant Driscoll, and the rest of the crew followed her, each one tight-lipped, nerves just under the surface. The HFY were waiting. As Iris and her team walked down the docking corridor, they were greeted by the sight of Xylothar, the supreme commander of the HFY Union. His imposing form towered over the human delegation. His gray-green skin, speckled with dark markings, gave him the appearance of an ancient warrior. 2 elongated antennae curved from his head, twitching slightly as they caught the vibrations in the air. His eyes were a glowing yellow, burning with arrogance. Well. The humans arrive," Xylothar said, his voice smooth but laced with condescension. He stood surrounded by his aides, smaller but equally formidable-looking HFY officers, each one glaring at the humans with the same disdain. "I must admit, I expected more from a species that managed to crawl out of its pitiful existence on a single, insignificant planet." Iris didn't flinch. Her stance was firm, her posture straight as she met his gaze. "We've managed to survive for centuries on that insignificant planet. I'm sure we can hold our own." Xylothar's lips twitched, though it wasn't quite a smile. "Ah, yes. Your Earth." His voice dripped with mockery. "A lonely rock, hurtling through space with no allies beyond its reach. How quaint." He took a deliberate step forward, looming over her. "Tell me, Captain Caldwell, what makes you think your species, so utterly bound to one little ball of dirt, could possibly stand as equals to us? He gestured to the expanse of the fleet, rule over countless worlds. Your home is nothing more than a curiosity." Iris swallowed the sharp retort that rose to her lips. Instead, she stepped closer, her tone unwavering. "Maybe we don't need to rule over countless worlds. Maybe we just need to be strong enough to defend the one we have." Xylothar raised an eyebrow, intrigued but not convinced. "Defend?" He scoffed, turning away and gesturing for the humans to follow him into the grand hall of his flagship. The walls were adorned with strange alien symbols, flickering with faint light. The air was thick with the scent of something foreign, something both metallic and organic. The table in the center of the room was a massive circular slab, crafted from a translucent material that shimmered in the dim light. Xylothar sat at the head, his aides flanking him. Iris sat across from him, her team behind her. There was no warmth in the room. The air felt dense with judgment. "We've heard enough of your rhetoric," Xylothar said, his tone now almost bored. "It's clear that your species is desperate to join the galactic stage, but your limitations are glaring. I'm not here to discuss Earth's history. I'm here to determine whether you have the resources, the strength, and the wisdom to be of any use to the greater galaxy." Iris leaned forward slightly, meeting his gaze with unflinching resolve. We've already proved ourselves. You may mock us for our planet, but we've come this far. Our unity is our greatest strength, Xylothar. That's something you'll never understand. Xylothar's eyes narrowed, but before he could respond, one of his aides spoke up. We'll see how well your unity holds up in the trials we've prepared. A chill swept through the room. Iris tensed. She had suspected this wasn't going to be a simple negotiation. The HFY were famous for their cruel tests, designed to break spirits and expose weaknesses. If they were trying to break humanity, they had just set the stage for something far more dangerous than a simple meeting. What kind of trials? Iris asked, her voice cool but carrying an undercurrent of caution. Xylothar's smile was predatory. The kind that will show whether your people are worthy of even the smallest alliance with the HFY Union. He motioned to one of the aides, who flicked a control on the table. A holographic display flickered to life, showing a series of combat and intellectual challenges. The first will test your strength and endurance. If you can survive it, we'll proceed to the second challenge, which will measure your strategic mind. If you pass that, we might just consider allowing your species to join us in some small way. If not, Xylothar let the implication hang in the air. Iris's pulse quickened, but she remained composed. She had anticipated that the HFY might play dirty, but she wasn't about to let them dictate her fate, or humanity's. If you think we'll break under pressure, you're mistaken. We've faced worse odds than these and survived. You'll find that humanity doesn't fall easily. Xylothar's gaze darkened. He leaned back in his chair, clearly amused. We shall see, Captain. We shall see. As the hologram shut down, a thick silence settled over the room. Iris rose to her feet, her crew following suit. We're ready, she said, her voice steady. Xylothar's laugh echoed through the chamber as he turned away. Then let the games begin. As the door slid open, Iris led her crew out into the corridors of the HFY flagship. Her mind was already working through the challenges ahead. Whatever they threw at her, humanity would stand firm. They had no choice. The fate of Earth depended on it. The cold air of the HFY flagship pressed in on Iris and her crew as they marched down the long corridors, their footsteps echoing in the silence. The faint hum of alien technology resonated beneath their feet, as if the very ship was alive and watching them. Iris kept her pace steady, but her mind raced. They'd been warned. The HFY would not make this easy, and Xylothar had made it clear, they were here to test humanity in ways that went far beyond simple diplomacy. The briefing had been brief and brutal. 2 tests, 2 chances to prove humanity's worth. The first would test their physical limits. The second, their intellect. Iris's mind raced, trying to anticipate the challenges ahead, but the HFY were notorious for their unpredictability. At the end of the corridor, a door slid open with a hiss. Beyond it, a large chamber awaited them. Inside, the walls were lined with strange alien technology, and in the center of the room, a wide pit stretched out, its bottom hidden in shadow. A tall, reptilian officer stood by a control panel at the edge of the pit, his eyes glowing with a cold, calculating intensity. Captain Caldwell, he said in a voice that rumbled like distant thunder. You will begin the first trial now. Iris exchanged a glance with Commander Elias, then nodded. The HFY weren't giving them any time to prepare. Whatever this was, it was about to begin. Your first trial, the officer continued, is physical. You will face the Pivot Beast. He gestured toward the darkened pit. Defeat it, and you may proceed. Fail, and, well, you won't. The tension in the air thickened. The Pivot Beast? Iris had heard rumors, beasts bred by the HFY for their gladiatorial games, strong and vicious, trained to hunt and kill without mercy. It was clear this wasn't going to be a simple sparring match. The officer activated a series of switches, and the ground beneath Iris's feet shifted. A mechanical hum filled the room, and then, from the darkness of the pit, a low growl rose, deep and menacing. A massive form emerged, its eyes gleaming with an unnatural intelligence. The pivot beast was a creature unlike anything Iris had seen before. Its body was a twisted combination of sinew and scale, with rippling muscles that looked capable of crushing anything in its path. Clawed feet scraped against the ground as it padded forward, its mouth dripping with saliva, revealing rows of sharp teeth. Iris didn't hesitate. She stepped forward, unsheathing the combat knife at her side. The beast lunged, its speed shocking for its size. Iris barely had time to react, twisting to the side as the creature's claws swiped through the air, narrowly missing her. She rolled, landing in a crouch, her heart pounding in her chest. "Stay calm," she muttered to herself, eyes locked on the beast as it circled. It was intelligent, its eyes calculating, waiting for the right moment to strike. "Captain!" Elias shouted from behind her, but she didn't look away from the creature. He knew the situation, they couldn't let their emotions dictate their actions. The pivot beast was a challenge, but it was not invincible. The creature lunged again, and this time, Iris was ready. She dodged beneath its claws, darting forward, aiming for the beast's vulnerable underbelly. Her blade connected with the thick hide, but it barely made a dent. The beast hissed in pain, but it was undeterred. It recoiled and turned quickly, its tail slashing through the air like a whip, knocking Iris off balance. She hit the ground hard, breath leaving her lungs in a painful rush. For a moment, everything went black. But Iris didn't have time to dwell on the pain. She had to move. The pivot beast growled, stalking toward her, its eyes filled with malicious intent. But this was where the THRAC had underestimated her. Humans didn't give up that easily. They fought, and they adapted. Iris pushed herself up, using the momentum to roll to the side. Her mind raced through strategies, calculating. She had to use her agility, her speed, to outmaneuver the creature. She couldn't overpower it in a direct fight, but she didn't need to. If she could wear it down. The beast charged again, faster this time. Iris waited until the last possible moment, then darted sideways, avoiding its claws by inches. She sprang to her feet and dashed toward the far side of the room, where a row of metal pipes ran along the wall. Her eyes flicked to the control panel. There, she saw a lever. The beast followed her, its growls filling the air as it closed the distance. Just as it lunged again, Iris grabbed the lever and yanked it hard. The floor beneath the beast gave way, sending it crashing down into a pit that opened beneath it. The beast's roar echoed through the chamber as it fell, its claws scraping against the metal as it disappeared from view. Iris stood, breathing heavily, her pulse still racing. She wiped the sweat from her brow and turned to face the THRAC officer. "That's how humans fight," Iris said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline still coursing through her veins. "We don't give up. We don't back down. We adapt." The officer didn't respond at first. His eyes scanned the pit, then flicked to Iris. After a long pause, he nodded. "Impressive," he muttered, though his tone betrayed no surprise. He turned to the control panel, and the pit began to close up, the ground leveling out once more. Iris's team gathered around her, their eyes wide with a mix of relief and awe. Commander Elias clapped her on the shoulder, a rare smile breaking through his usually stoic expression. "Nice work, Captain." Iris didn't smile. The first test was over, but they had only just begun. The officer gestured toward another door. "The second trial awaits. This one will test your intellect, Captain Caldwell. We'll see if your people can match your strength." Iris's heart sank slightly. Strength alone wouldn't win this war. They needed to outthink the THRAC, to show that humanity was more than just muscle and grit. She nodded grimly. "Lead the way." As they moved toward the next chamber, Iris allowed herself one quick breath to steady her nerves. The challenges had only just begun. And the real battle, showing the THRAC what humanity was truly capable of, was only just starting. The stark, cold air of the THRAC flagship seemed to close in on Iris as she and her team walked down the labyrinthine hallways. Their steps echoed off the metallic walls, the silence oppressive. The first trial had been grueling, a brutal test of endurance. The pivot beast, though fierce, had been overcome. But now, the true challenge loomed ahead. The second trial, the one that would test not just their strength, but their minds, was waiting. Iris's heart still raced from the earlier fight, but she pushed the adrenaline aside. This was the real test. The TH-Rack had underestimated humanity's physical prowess, but intellect was a different battle. She had no idea what the TH-Rack had planned, but whatever it was, they had to face it. The fate of Earth rested on this moment. The door to the next chamber opened with a soft hiss. Inside was a vast, circular room, its walls lined with glowing panels. A central platform stood in the middle, its surface covered with intricate designs that shimmered under the light. The air hummed with energy, as if the entire room was charged with some unseen force. At the center of the platform stood another TH-Rack officer, his eyes glowing faintly. He was holding a small, spherical device in his hand. The officer's presence was intimidating, his calm demeanor adding to the gravity of the moment. Without a word, he activated the device, and the room suddenly flickered to life, revealing a holographic display that hovered in the air above the platform. Iris's mind immediately began to analyze the display, searching for clues. It wasn't immediately clear what it showed, a complex array of geometric patterns, shifting and rearranging themselves at rapid speed. The officer's voice cut through the silence. "Captain Caldwell," he began, his voice cool and emotionless, "this trial will test your ability to think strategically under pressure. You will have to solve this puzzle before time runs out." He gestured to the holographic display, which pulsed with a steady rhythm. "You must understand the patterns and apply logic to decipher them. Failure will result in consequences." The words hung heavy in the air. Iris felt the weight of them settle into her chest, but she kept her expression neutral. She had faced worse odds. She'd been in tight situations before. This was just another challenge. They could handle it. The glowing symbols on the platform continued to shift, becoming increasingly complex. They were unlike anything Iris had ever seen, abstract patterns that seemed to defy logic. Each symbol flashed in sequence, moving at a rate that made it difficult to keep up. The room's energy felt oppressive now, like it was closing in on them, testing not just their minds but their resolve. Iris stepped forward, her mind already working. She'd been trained for situations like this. She knew how to handle stress, how to compartmentalize the panic that would surely rise in her chest. The TH-Rack were testing humanity's ability to think clearly under duress. But they were wrong if they thought humans were easy to break. "You've seen it, haven't you?" Elias said quietly from behind her. His voice was calm, but there was an edge of urgency. "It's a pattern. A rotating cycle." Iris's eyes flicked to the holographic display. Elias was right. It wasn't random. The symbols were following a sequence, albeit a complicated one. She watched closely, seeing that each symbol seemed to correspond to an element, a color, a shape, a direction. But they were moving too fast, changing too rapidly to make sense of. "It's not about solving the pattern immediately," Iris said softly, almost to herself. "It's about finding the right moment to act." She studied the shifting symbols, waiting for that precise instant when the pieces would align. The officer watched them, his expression unreadable, but his antennae twitched slightly. Iris knew he was waiting for a mistake. "Captain Caldwell," the officer said again, his voice dripping with condescension. "Time is running out." Iris could feel the pressure mounting. She glanced at her team. Elias was already at her side, watching the symbols with a mix of concentration and determination. She knew they had to solve this, not just for their survival but to prove the strength of humanity's mind. The symbols continued to whirl, the movements becoming more erratic. Iris's mind raced, searching for patterns, for clues. Suddenly, it clicked. A shift in the sequence, the symbols repeated in a way that hadn't been immediately apparent. She quickly traced the logic, identifying the key to unlocking the puzzle. The order was clear now. They had to manipulate the symbols in a particular way, aligning them in perfect harmony. It was a test of both observation and execution. "Do it now," Elias urged, his voice a sharp whisper. Iris didn't hesitate. She stepped forward, reaching out to touch the central control panel embedded in the platform. The moment her fingers brushed the surface, the symbols froze, aligning themselves in perfect order. The entire room seemed to breathe a collective sigh, as if the pressure had been released. The holographic display flickered and dissolved, leaving only the glowing outlines of the symbols. A soft chime rang through the room, signaling the completion of the trial. The officer nodded slowly, his expression unreadable. "Impressive," he said, his voice still cold, but now tinged with something like begrudging respect. "You've completed the trial." Iris took a slow breath, her pulse still racing, but the weight that had settled in her chest began to lift. She glanced at her team, who looked equally relieved. They had done it. They had proven they were more than just a species of brute force. But the officer's next words sent a ripple of unease through her. "This was only the first part of the trial," he said, his voice growing colder. "The real test comes now." Iris's heart skipped a beat. She'd known the THRAC weren't going to make this easy, but this? "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice steady despite the growing apprehension. The officer's eyes glowed more brightly now, his lips curling into a cruel smile. "You've passed the intellect trial. Now, you will face the final test, survival. There are no more puzzles, no more tricks. Only your strength, your will, and your ability to adapt." Before Iris could respond, the walls of the room shifted. A section of the floor lowered with a grinding noise, revealing a vast, open space. And in that space stood another pivot beast, larger this time, its eyes glowing with the hunger of a creature that had been unleashed for only one purpose: to kill. Iris stepped forward, eyes narrowed, and a grim determination sat in her chest. "Then let's show them what humanity is really capable of." As the massive creature charged, Iris knew this final trial wasn't just a fight for survival, it was the moment when humanity's true strength would be revealed to the universe.